My name's Gary Parker. I'm the Managing Director of C&T Associates. I'm going to hand over very shortly to my colleague Jenny Tomei, who will introduce herself and what's happening this afternoon. We've got a whole number of speakers, including myself, right at the end. And I hope you get some value out of this. I'd appreciate if you could keep yourselves on mute as to avoid any background noise. And just to explain, we will be recording this, and it may go on our YouTube channel and or LinkedIn. We take online security very seriously here at C&T, so if you don't want to be part of the recording, then please let us know and we'll try and edit you out. And you should not come on camera and try and eliminate any other distinguishing features. We've been doing these webinars for nearly 3 years now. We haven't had any issues, but we're always concerned about that, and we can do further editing. We set it up so that it will only focus on you if you speak. So if you're not going to speak and you're not on camera, it's very difficult to get any details. But just to reassure you, take that seriously, and please contact us, anybody, if you've got any issues with that. Okay, there's still people who are looking to join us, but we've got a lot in this presentation this afternoon. So now I am going to hand over to Jenny Tomei, who's somebody I've been working with a lot recently, and I'm very impressed with her dynamism and all the work she's involved in. So over to you, Jenny.
Oh, thanks, Gary. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen with you, and then I'm going to introduce who I am a bit. So, and then I'm going to show my presentation. Hopefully you can all see all of that. Yeah. I'll just press play on here and I'll introduce you a little bit about myself. Hold on. Okay, so my name's Jenny Tomei. I'm a personal trainer, eating disorder coach and nutritional therapist. So I run my own personal training and online personal training business. However, during lockdown, I've set up a non-profit organisation, so a social enterprise. It's all about the early intervention and prevention of eating disorders, because during COVID, there's been a massive spike in eating disorders, especially in young people, both female and male. And we've seen a massive rise in particular with disorders such as anorexia and binge eating disorder. And my main aim is to get into schools to help spread general more awareness about eating disorders and help teach teachers on how to spot the early signs of an eating disorder. So yeah, I'm really passionate about that, because I believe we do need to act now in order to, sort this situation out. So why I also started Jenup. So the company is called Jenup. Sorry, just move it over to the side here. So I had anorexia. So I've got a personal sort of story. This is why I'm passionate about it. Mine started at the age of 19. Unfortunately, I was very unwell. I had a BMI of 14, and it lasted for over 6 years. And, I wasn't really picked up. I went into treatment very late. I went into treatment at the age of 23, and I went into the Moorsley Hospital. And I was treated there for over a year. But with like any sort of mental disorder, recovery doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And obviously, this is why I'm passionate about the early intervention and prevention, because this means there'll be less cost to the NHS. Because if you intervene early, then recovery is a lot quicker as well. So some of the causes of my own particular anorexia was high anxiety levels. So I didn't really know what anxiety was when I was a teenager. And we have seen a massive increase in anxiety, especially with young people. And we do believe that that when we were in isolation during lockdown, this is what caused a lot of anxiety. A lot of young people are feeling out of control. They didn't really have, the only thing that they could control during lockdown was their food and exercise. And that's why we feel there's been a massive increase, during COVID, because there was a lot of disruptions to people's, to young people's studies. where, some young people couldn't even take their GCSEs and some were delayed. So it caused a lot of stress. And these are big trigger factors for any sort of eating disorder. However, my triggers were completely different. So I was a victim of being bullied at university and also emotional abuse, and PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. So with the control aspects that I've just mentioned, my anorexia gave me a sense of control in my life, as I felt like I'd just lost my way, basically. And we're seeing this in a lot of young people. It's an element of control. And we do believe that COVID has kind of, caused that. Yes. Okay, just a bit about after my therapy. So after my therapy, I actually I joined the Blackheath Bromley running club. So I used to run for Blackheath. So like my personality trait, if I set myself a goal, I'll do it and I'll put everything into it. I was very sort of determined, and I trained there for a good 3 to 4 years. I don't train there anymore. I just do my own running for pleasure. I might go back to it if I feel like it, but I'm not doing that right now. I'm having a bit of a rest, which is good. Because unfortunately I did suffer with a bit of overtraining sort of syndrome, which means, I pushed my body a bit too far. This is why I'm really passionate about educating young people about the side effects of over-exercising and under-eating, because during COVID, we saw a lot of young people who were particularly over-exercising because there was a massive emphasis on exercise during lockdown, because what was the one thing that we could do was, control our food and go and exercise. So we saw a massive increase in this, and lots of fears around the lockdown weight, and these messages were very anxiety promoting for young people. So yeah, I rested and healed my body, and now I'm really passionate. I work with a few dancers on perfectionism in sports now, so I help them try to fuel their bodies adequately so they can perform well within their sport. Okay, so just some of the health consequences. I think this is always really important to stress about, because having an eating disorder is not glamorous at all, and it can have very serious side effects to one's health. And this is why I'm very passionate about the early intervention and prevention, because you can end up with things like I've suffered with lowered bone density, digestive issues, and various hormonal issues in the past. And this is why I'm really passionate about it, because no young person wants to suffer with all these when they grow up. So education around this is I feel that is so crucial. And here are some statistics that I've put together. So we do believe there's 1.25 million in the UK with an eating disorder. That's, there still needs to be up-to-date research on eating disorders, because some people don't even come forward, whereas they might have an eating disorder. So they're being, missed in the statistics. There was a 68% increase in 10 to 19-year-olds seeking help in 2020. So that shows there's a massive demand for what we're doing at Jenup. People seek treatment, 3 years down the line, and that's considered still early intervention. There's a service in London saying 2 to 3 years is early intervention for an eating disorder. I personally think that's not early, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's scary. But 34% of adults in the UK did not know how to tell the signs of an eating disorder. Eating disorders cost 15 billion per annum. That's a lot of money. And women aged over 16 have screened positive for an eating disorder in 2019. Percentage, there was 45%. Forgot to put the percentage there. So that's a high percentage. Just a little bit about on how to support loved ones. I always get asked this, so I thought it'd be really good to put about empathy and support. People with an eating disorder just want to be listened to. An eating disorder is not specifically about food, and there is no one single cause or trigger. Being able to listen and provide support is essential. You're not meant to have all the answers. If you do know someone suffering with eating disorder, it's just very good to be there for them and to support them. Of course, with any sort of mental health condition, emotional resilience is key. That's why I'm really passionate about getting into schools and teaching emotional resilience to young people. I think that's really important. Just some of the early signs of an eating disorder. If you may have spotted these in anyone, they may seem irritable or anxious. Sometimes there's been an increase in exercise. Are they skipping meals? Have they decided to cut certain foods out of their diet? Do they fear weight gain? Or have they developed suddenly a low self-image of themselves? Yes, that was just a little snippet of my journey and a little bit about eating disorders. I'll just go into a little bit about Jenup now. So why I started it, we've turned it into a social enterprise now because there's so much lack of funding for eating disorders. And I believe that there should be more funding towards it. So I set it up to help young people struggling with eating disorders. Many young people are just not on the radar of need. So what I mean by that is that they're currently going to the GP and someone's getting weighed and they're saying they're not sick enough for help, basically. It's an eating disorder is not just about weight. You don't have to be underweight to have an eating disorder. Now, we're constantly seeing this because I'm getting inquiries through the websites from parents saying that the doctor said they're not severe enough and then they have nowhere else to go. I see that as a massive issue that needs to be resolved. And I want to change this by ensuring young people have access to quality education around eating disorders, because I've always firmly believed that knowledge is power. And I want people to feel valid and understood and to also not waste their lives, basically. So we're currently providing workshops for students on how to have a healthy relationship with food and exercise. We're doing workshops on emotional resilience, and the government have actually suggested this in a recent report that came out for the cost of eating disorders in the UK. They suggested emotional resilience training for young people and training for teachers, which is what we do offer, on how to spot the early signs of an eating disorder. So if teachers are better educated on how to spot the signs and how to respond to a child with an eating disorder, then they can help them get the quicker help that they need as well, because there's a certain way that you need to speak to someone with an eating disorder as well. And yeah, we're a non-profit organisation. So just a little bit about our services here. So there's resources on the website, they're all free. We want to offer group coaching down the line. We're doing workshops for schools, colleges and councils. I've done a couple of speaking events now in schools, and I also work one-to-one as well with a few clients. And we're offering obviously the workshops for parents and teachers around eating disorders. Our current supporters and partnerships here. So this is who we're currently working, who's supporting and who we're partnered with. The National Centre for Eating Disorders, Haringey Council, and the Safeguarding Company, which works with a lot of schools and provides safeguarding solutions for schools all across the UK and Europe. And this is just some of the schools that we're working with. JCA is a fashion academy. We're hoping to try and do more work with them as well. Farrington School and the school in Dulwich I forgot to put on. And then there's St Nicholas School, which is in Brazil, funnily enough. So it's really great that we've kind of taken this internationally already. So I'm really happy about that. And there's just some current endorsements there just for our toolkits that are available on the website. We've got free toolkits for parents, teachers and young people, and that's all about eating disorders, and they're just available on the website. And yeah, just some endorsements about them, really. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Any questions? And there's a podcast as well. I'll stop the share now. Thank you, everyone. Oh, thanks, Jackie.
It's really good.
Thanks, Jackie.
First of all, Jenny, wow, fantastic. Thank you so very much for sharing your personal testimony and then turning your own personal journey into something which is really useful. And so everything that you said, yeah, I recognise it now. And I think one thing that stood out for me in your presentation is it's not your fault. Because I think a lot of us parents do feel that, you know, our role is to grow our children and to know our children. And then when something like this happens, it can be really destabilizing. So thank you very much. And I will definitely be checking out your resource going forward. So thank you.
Any more questions, guys? But thanks so much for listening. Thanks for your kind words. The website's in the chat as well. But if not, I'll move on to the next speaker, Gary. Okay, I think just checking the list. Okay, so next we have Jackie Groundsell. Jackie, would you like to deliver your presentation now?
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. And just to endorse what everybody has said in terms of your presentation, it's a very worthwhile cause and very open and honest of you to share your story with us. So that's well done. Okay, I'm just going to, so thank you for the introduction. My name is Jackie Groundsell and I run a networking company supporting business women. I'm just going to share my screen, I hope, with you. Here we go. 12:30 started by coincidence back in the sort of late 90s, early 2000, as a direct result of me and a lady called Thembi to make connections for ourselves. In those days, networking as such was a very rude word, and nobody wanted to talk to you unless you actually had something to share or you actually wanted to buy their product or their service. So I'm based in Beckenham. Caroline Wardell, who is here with us, is the host of our Bexley and Sidcup group, and as you know, is Gary's neighbour. So I thought, it seems to me that everybody during lockdown was absolutely desperate to get back into person meetings, but actually now we're there still is a certain reservation, I find. I don't know if anybody else has found that, if you sort of nod or shake your head at me. So what I've been doing with some of our groups is actually doing refresher courses, and I just thought if I brought in perhaps 5 points that might be useful to you or you might like to ask me questions about. So that's obviously a bit about me, and eventually the slide will move on, we hope. It's not. This is good for an IT trainer, isn't it? Oh, here we go. So here's the tips. So I'm assuming that some of you do actually go to networking events. Do you want to put your hands up and let me know who actually goes to formal networking events? Because we can all network at the supermarket or the school gates. Cool. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. But I think the important thing really with networking, I'm sure you'll be going, oh yes, I know all these things, and I'm sure you do know a lot of these things, but I think given all the circumstances that we've experienced lately, some refreshers seem to be an important. There's been really good feedback at the meetings that I've held where I've expanded a bit more than I'm going to now, but I'm just conscious of everyone's time and restrictions. So regular attendance is essential when you go networking, because otherwise how are they going to know about you? How are they going to know about Jenny and her absolutely essential, invaluable service that she actually offers, unless she attends things regularly? I noticed, Gary, that you said there's an accountant going to be coming. How are we going to know about the accountant unless he goes to regular meetings? Because somebody might say, oh, I need an accountant, and that's fine, but unless people actually know someone that they can remember, I think it's Roger, is it? Roger Ambrose is the accountant, did you say, Gary? So unless he's there regularly, people are not going to, he's not going to come immediately to mind as someone that they can actually pass on the details for. With 1230, we work very much on building relationships. We're not a referral network. So this type of networking and regular attendance is essential for us, particularly. Now, I'm sure you gather business cards, flyers when you go to different networks, and I know that we're very much in the digital age, obviously. So some people will say, oh, but I do that electronically through my e-card. Well, that's fine, assuming that the internet is working that day. So I'm very much a belt and braces girl. So, but the important thing is when you've gathered all this information, it's no good just having it sitting in a pile on the corner of your desk. You need to make sure that you actually do what you say you're going to do when you're building rapport with talking to people. And you say, well, let's have a chat. Let's see what we can do. See if we can actually maybe do some collaboration. It doesn't matter if nothing comes of any meeting that you have. It's just that that person then is much more firmly in your mind. So it is essential after all these events that you go to that you do follow up afterwards. If you say you're going to. A lot of the events, and with 1230 Women's Company, everybody gets the opportunity to do a 1-minute talk. And that needs to be effective. That needs to make best use of your time. And we actually have a little card, which of course I haven't got on my desk now, which is ridiculous. And it guides you through that 1 minute. So whatever amount of time you're actually given to stand up and talk to your groups. Oh, thank you, Caroline. Well done. My desk is usually littered with them, and I haven't got them here now. So well done on that. So it is a great opportunity when you are given that opportunity. Now, I use that word twice because it is an opportunity. Sometimes when people approach us, they say, oh, do I have to do the 1 minute? Of course, no, you don't have to. But very often, on the rare occasions when they ask that question, they say, oh, well, I'm not going to do it. But actually, as they watch other people stand up and do that introduction, they gain confidence in that. And I never leave a new person to the end. I always try to get them in fairly early at the beginning so that people are not sitting there biting their nails and quivering. So even if they've actually said, I don't think I'll do that, they often do it because they gain confidence in listening to other people there. So our suggestion is at the beginning of that time you say your name, your company name, and at the end you say your name and your company name. And like Caroline's done, you hold up your card or your flyer so that people can recognize your marketing material afterwards. The bit in the middle is the bit that you can obviously vary depending on what you're offering or what you think your audience will find interesting. So never dismiss anybody, excuse me, never dismiss anybody because you never know who they might know. I'm just sort of keeping an eye on the time there. It's one little story that I have is of a lady at a meeting who said she'd been twice and wasn't going to come back. And when we asked her why that was, she said, well, I've never got any business coming to those 2 meetings. And many of you will know that networking is a slow burn. It's a slow burn of building that relationship. But she was something to do with catering. And I said to her, did you see that lady over there in the corner? And she said, yes. I said, have you had a chance to talk to her? No, she hadn't. Now, that lady in the corner with her husband had a printing business in the city. What's that got to do with catering? Well, their biggest client at the time was Jamie Oliver. Do you think she wanted to go and talk to her? Yes, she did. So you never, ever dismiss anybody. You never know what's actually going to crop up. And another thing I would just give as an extra tip there is the fact that always take a notebook with you and a pen, because you can refer to that and go back and remind yourself of what people have said. How many of you got your diaries with you today? So if you're talking about following up with someone, you're going to say to them, let's meet up, or let's go and have a coffee or something. I'll give you a call, or I'll drop you an email and we can sort it. How much easier it actually is if you can do it at the time. So have your diaries handy with you. Just quickly, a situation that I find people often ask me about, particularly when they're new to networking, is, well, what do I do if I go in a room and they're all huddled together talking to each other and they don't look as if they want to talk to me? Well, you'll all have your own thoughts on that. So my answer to that is, if they are in a tight situation and they are not clearly going to open up and talk to you, as sometimes you might see, fortunately not often, is that you go away and you find somebody else to talk to. You go to the coffee queue, or if there's food there, you might have a buffet or something. Or even, ladies, I find the toilets are actually quite useful places to have a chat. Oh, I like the colour of your lipstick, or whatever. It gets the conversations going. But I would suggest that you never barge in to a group that is clearly not going to open up and talk to you. You don't know what they're talking about. They could be sealing that $1 million deal, or that actually might be not very nice people that you don't want to talk to anyway. So, you know, bear that in mind. Don't go barging in. They won't appreciate it, and so it doesn't bode well for you in that situation. We have a group that meets in Bexley, as I mentioned, and Caroline is the host. They meet on the second Tuesday of every month. If you're interested in 12:30, do come back to me, or you could go to the website, which is all the W's, and also check out the calendar. So all the W's with .1230.co.uk, and you'll find the details here. So I think that's my little slot. Thank you for that, Gary. And I don't know if anybody's got any questions.
Thanks, Jackie.
No, they all know it.
All questions? Okay, thank you so much for that, Jackie. Really great.
Okay, I'm just going to stop the share. Where's it gone?
I certainly done a lot of networking during lockdown.
Did it online?
Yeah, it was the time to do it, I think. No, thank you. That's great. I'm so happy networking has gone back face to face, though. It's good. Okay, thank you so much, Jackie. The next speaker, we have Rachel Barham, please.
Hiya. I haven't got a question for you, Jackie, but I've got another tip for people that are going back to face, because I used to be, believe it or not, really shy. I know nobody will ever believe it, but I hated networking. But always aim for an odd number in a group, because there will always be somebody that is not 100% into what's going on and what's being talked about. So they will kind of look to you to break off and create another group or invite you in. So there's my one other tip for you. I'm Rachel Barham. I'm a self-employed membership advisor for the Federation of Small Businesses. So for those of you that don't know what or who FSB is, we're actually a not-for-profit campaigning group. So we lobby government on behalf of you. So it doesn't matter the status of somebody's business. It's everybody from self-employed, limited companies, social enterprises, charities, CICs, etc. If you have 249 or less employees, which most small businesses do, and to be honest, most of the ones that are members of FSB are anywhere between 0 employees up to about 20, then we are the voice for you. So we make sure government thinks about the decisions they make before they roll them out, because unfortunately, left to their own devices, more often than not, it has a negative impact on business. But obviously on a day-to-day basis, that's quite far removed from what most people do. So FSB has a package of benefits for its members that are there to support you, protect you, give you advice when you need it, and just give you that peace of mind that you're not going to be ripped off and that you're getting the right advice. And that's for everything that underpins business, because quite often when we start our businesses, it's either a passion that we've got or it's an industry that we've worked in before. So of course we're experts in that, but it's what happens when something else outside of that occurs. Where do we turn to? FSB. So that's things like legal advice, employment advice, health and safety. We can even help with insurances, banking, card machines, debt recovery. We do networking as well. We do master classes, and we have also local support. So if you have issues with the council, we can get involved with that, or if people have issues with a business landlord. It doesn't matter what it is. FSB is all about supporting you and protecting you. But I think the main ones, because as women in business, we suffer from the same issues as everybody within business, but I suppose sometimes we can be a little bit more cautious and careful about what we do. So the legal side of things is a massive benefit to everybody, because unfortunately, if you get it wrong in business, it costs us money. So for members, they have 24/7 access to solicitors. And all it takes is to call the legal helpline, and within an hour, the right type of solicitor calls you back and helps address the question or issue that you've got. Because sometimes it is something that you just want someone to confirm that you're right, but it might be something more serious as well. It doesn't matter. It's the whole spectrum. But you have unlimited access as a member to legal advice. We also provide members with documents, because we want to make sure that everybody's businesses have all the legal protection in place. So whether that is your contracts, your employment contracts, terms and conditions, non-disclosure agreements, it doesn't matter what it is. There is a bank of about 1,500 documents that as a member you would have access to. So half of them roughly are fact sheets and guides to give you the information that you need to learn from. And then the other side of it is the template. So you can download them, upload your details, your client details, depending obviously what type of document it is, and they're yours. And at least you've got the peace of mind that you've got all the legal requirements and the documents in place should something come up. And then following on from the legal documents and stuff, we've also got in there legal protection for you, because unfortunately there will be times when somebody comes at you or your business and wants to take you to court. FSB is there to protect you, because although we may have our insurances in place, there's already so many exclusions, you've got to pay an excess. So FSB gives you what's called legal protection cover to, I suppose, pick up those exclusions, not to charge you an excess. And we will protect you up to 100k per claim, so that again you've got that peace of mind that there is somebody behind you making sure that you're all right and covering you as best that we possibly can. And that also applies to the employment side of things. We'll protect you if you have, say, an employment dispute and somebody wants to take you to tribunal, for example. You can turn to us with that. We can also save you money, so it's things like your insurances. We can give you a health check to make sure you're not over or under insured. If you've not got any insurance, then obviously we can have a chat with you to let you know what you should have. I mean, it's your risk. Most business insurances aren't necessarily legal requirements, so we can tell you what we advise you to have, and then obviously we can quote you if you'd like us to, but there's never an obligation to take insurance from us, and even if you don't, we'll still act as an advice line. So if you do have issues with your insurer, you can turn to us. There's a number of other types of benefits in there. So I mean, there's loads and loads of benefits. There's about 25 to 30, but there's also ones around looking after us, because quite often, and I suppose especially as women and women in business, we look after everybody else. So there is Fsb Care, which is a benefit that is there to protect you and look after you. So if, as a member, you are diagnosed with a long-term medical condition or already have a pre-existing one, and it also includes mental health, you have access to dedicated nurse practitioners, and they can actually support you for up to 3 years. So it may be that it's researching a condition that you've been diagnosed with. It might be giving you somebody else to turn to, because sometimes it's hard to turn to friends and family because it can be quite emotional. there's also a small budget of £250 per condition, just in case they feel that actually we need to get you seen more urgently, whether it's with a consultant or a counsellor or a piece of equipment to help you do your work. So there's things like that that are put in place as well to make sure that you're also looked after. Going back to networking, and I suppose following on from what Jackie said, FSB do absolutely loads of networking. The majority of ours is still online. In South East London, we do actually hold one every couple of months in New Cross now. But so far, that's the only physical event. But as members, you can go anywhere. You're not limited just to the area that your business is based. So if your business can, like Jenny's, go abroad, admittedly, we don't necessarily work with businesses abroad, but if you can work with businesses in Scotland, well, then you can book yourself onto a networking event in Scotland. So you can do as many or as little as you want. And as members, you can also put yourself forward to present on them. So it's not a sales pitch. It's not there literally 10 minutes of you pitching your business to everybody. It's more of a tips and a learning and a guide, and I suppose thought-provoking. But you can put yourself forward for that. You can also take it to the next level. You can put yourself forward to host masterclasses, where obviously people come specifically to see you or a panel of speakers, depending what's decided. And then there's also the webinar side of things. They do tend to be the more serious and I suppose heavier subject. But again, it depends on what someone's business does. Sometimes the small businesses are just as able to participate in them. We also do women in business networking. We also do EDI networking. So there's a variety of different ones that are going on. There's absolutely loads to choose from. You pick and choose what you want and fit it around your days, because obviously FSB is all about you succeeding, you thriving, and not necessarily feeling like we're a hindrance to you. We are there to support you. But there's actually loads of information on the website. Have a look. I will put my details in the chat if anybody has any questions, because there is so much I can talk about, and I could literally talk for the whole of this session about FSB. So I'm going to stop now. But if you'd like to have a more detailed chat about your business and how FSB can support, then get in contact. It's Rachel Barham, FSB. Back to you, Jenny.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, any questions for Rachel, guys? Any before we move on to the next speaker? Okay, no worries. Thank you very much, Rachel. That's great. Our next speaker is Canmei.
Yes, thank you. So I'll share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much.
Can you see my screen now? Right. I just want to thank Gary for inviting the university to join this session. I personally found very useful, especially from the top tips about networking from Jackie, and also to know more about the service that Jenny provides, which can be of benefits to university students and maybe teachers as well, and also to know more about FSB and what they offer, because we do work with the business community. So thank you very much for the opportunity. So I'm going to just do a quick outline about the support for business from the University Greenwich, which is slightly different from what our speakers have mentioned before. So basically, we mainly provide support on research and development partnerships, also in the innovation skills support through business engagement workshops and training courses. And the other three areas that I also be here, but I'm not going to cover the other three areas myself because they are from different offices at the university. For example, entrepreneurship support for graduate students and recent graduates, that's actually covered by Generator at the university. And we also have conference and university venues facilities by the facilities management office. And also if you're keen to recruit talents for your business, and then we have employability and career services from the university to look after that part. So I'm going to mainly cover what support we offer for research and development partnerships and innovation skills support through business engagement workshops and training courses. So in terms of research and development partnerships, so how we can help. oh, sorry. Yeah. So we're mainly covering to support short-term consultancy projects to large-scale research contracts for small, medium, or large organizations. We could also cover in-depth analysis and insights without lab facilities or research expertise for your business growth. For example, we can do market research for your product services, which could engage with our students' community. And we also develop partnerships to secure grant funding with business partners, which I'll talk a bit more later on. And we also offer joint doctoral award or placement for a PhD student to work with you on research. We also provide student project or placement for student consultancy projects for your business. We can also help you connect with researchers from the university through conferences or meetings and address current challenges you face within your business. So that's just a nutshell how we can help in terms of research and different partnerships. I'm going to go into detail to introduce one funding opportunity. We actually support business in making the application. So it's called KTP funding, Knowledge Transfer Partnership Funding. This is a nationwide program for over 40 years already, and that is really part funded by the UK government. And there are already 8,000 more complete KTP partnerships so far in the UK, with over 800 current partnerships. So what does it fund? Really is that if you have an idea for your business, but do not have all the in-house expertise that you need to develop it and realize consultancy is not possible, then a KTP may be the answer. So that is really just not for any solution that you can access off shelf. It's really something tailor-made for your business growth. So the KTP funding will part fund graduate salary working full-time at the company, plus academic supervision, plus relevant small project expenses. So it's 67% funded for SMEs and 50% funded for large organizations. So in that sense, business will still need to contribute either 33% for SME or 50% of the project cost if large organizations. But that does kind of help the business to kind of like utilize their resource to the best way possible, because technically speaking, you would be gaining an extra pair of hands full-time in your organization for only 33% of the cost, plus the expert advice and contribution towards funding towards the project cost for small project expenses. And it does have very high success rate for suitable KTP projects. So this would be something that you can look out for if you are looking for funding and for your business growth and have a suitable project idea for your business growth. This is a grant, not a loan, so you don't need to pay back. I will mention specifically about the management or productivity KTP funding. So because sometimes business might think that funding is just for tech companies, it is really for any sectors and any businesses. And for productivity KTP funding, like it could fund strategic operational management, employee relations, organizational psychology, marketing, accounting, finance, logistics. So any project that could demonstrate a clear strategic step that could address your major company challenge, then that's something that could be considered. So then I'll move on to give a quick outline about the innovation and skill support through business engagement workshops and training courses. So the university, we're also scheduling some free business engagement workshops almost every week at the moment. The most upcoming one is on Thursday, which is marketing your micro business in times of crisis. It's all on Zoom. It's about a couple of hours just for you to learn some top tips. And this is based on a research project that the university researchers has carried out recently post-COVID, during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so this is an opportunity to learn some best practices and experiences from your peer business owners about how they move their services online during the COVID-19 lockdown. So if you're interested, you can book online, and I'll share the link in the chat later on. And the next one for next week, we have something specifically for creative industry, building and managing successful teams. That is really also suitable for teams that are moving online, kind of more virtual, something for you to look out for on the 1st of June. And I've also listed another 2 workshops here. One is about innovation knowledge and growth to be held on the 9th of June. Again, another couple of hours for you to really to learn how to innovate within your business and how to manage your knowledge to grow your company. And we also have some skills-based workshops like Excel workshop for advanced data analysis, which will be held on the same day, but in the evening. That's also for a couple of hours, and that is really for you to enhance your Excel skills that can help with your business operation. So we have a few more workshops that are lined up in June. I'm happy to share those links in the chat later on. I'm also going to share with you about a very brief example of a KTP project as a case study, just so that you get an idea what kind of project that we can actually develop partnerships with business partners. So for this particular project, is actually a partner with Argos Limited. The project aim is really to develop optimized assortment of inventory plan for the store space and stock budget due to the budget constraints. So that the aim is really to increase the sales and the customer satisfaction. I think we probably, it's safe to say that almost all of us know about Argos, and it's recently acquired by Sainsbury Group. And the academic partner is University Greenwich, and it's with the University of School of Computer and Mathematics Department. That's really a nutshell of what we do in terms of support for local businesses. And in particular, for the office where I'm from, Greenwich Research and Enterprise Office, we are keen to work with businesses, and we can help you advise suitable funding opportunities depending on your business needs. And we can connect you with suitable expertise from the university that can help with your business growth. And we can help with your project management, development, and support you with your funding application. And just want to add on to say that, there's no fee associated with a funding application when we partner with you on projects. Unlike, I know some businesses probably pay grant writers to write applications. Here we provide feedback support, but there's no charge for that. So really, I know it's a very short time scale, so that's just my contact details. I'll just stop sharing. I hope, because I can't see anybody, so I don't know if there are any questions. I'll just stop share for now. I'll put my email in the chat. Okay,
thank you very much.
I'll finish in 8 minutes. Thank you.
Canmei, there was a question in the chat there from somebody saying, is these opportunities geographically restricted? In other words, is it just meant for businesses in Greenwich, or can it be anyone, anywhere?
For KTP, it's nationwide. So if you're not geographically located in Greenwich or anywhere near London, like say if you're in Scotland, it might make more sense for you to partner with a local university in Scotland. But usually the KTP funding is nationwide accessible. Yeah. But there are other funding opportunities. I only listed one funding opportunity today because of the time. Oh yeah, definitely, sorry. You can either access the support from University of Surrey, or if you want to see if we have the expertise that we offer, then you can definitely drop me an email, then we can take it from there. That's definitely no problem. Yeah, NAMBIS, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just put my email in the chat again, just in case it helps. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, NAMBIS in London, yeah.
That's great, thank you. I'll definitely be giving you an email.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Yeah, please do get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next we have is Thembi here. Thembi.
Okay.
Hi. Oh.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, all good. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. My computer is giving me problems, that's why. Okay, I'm just going to talk about my business just briefly. Okay, So Tallisdom Healthcare Limited is a recruitment business, and we also help to source PPE and stuff like that. Running a small business, there are lots of challenges, like maybe we are constantly learning about different things and maybe technology and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous and a bit unorganized. Yeah, and you have to be motivated and constantly learn new things. I'm sorry, I don't know, maybe just give me a moment. If there's someone who can share, let me just get myself organized and then I'll join later.
Yeah, you're doing great. Do you want me to ask you a couple of questions to help you? It might just sort of help you give a little bit of a start.
Yes, please, maybe.
Yeah, sure. So what are the main issues you've had to face in order to set up, you know, your own business or your own enterprise? So what are the main issues that you have when you try to set up a business, basically?
At the moment, the main issues that we're having is technology, choosing the right software. We constantly get people who are selling us the software, which seems like we are more like buying a problem instead of a solution.
Okay.
So, most of these softwares, they are not configured, and we have to work on them, maybe watch videos and try to configure them ourselves. So it's, especially if you are not good in IT, it takes a long time and you can't get it working in a proper way. Sometimes it feels like they don't even understand what we need in our industry. So it's more like we have to tell them what we want so that they can maybe develop something to meet our needs. So this is one of the challenges that we're having. And also in recruitment, without proper technology, it's difficult to function properly and deliver efficiently if you don't have that. So this is what we're working on. And in most cases, some of it is quite expensive, the good ones.
Okay.
So it's a challenge as well to get the proper ones. Some of them, even if it's expensive, they are not really giving us what we need. So I'm hoping that we finally manage to find what we're looking for, although it might take a while. It's more, if you've heard about something called jot form, it's more like you develop your own form and all sorts of things. I've managed to develop an application form that I can use for the candidates to collect the documents and everything that I need from the candidates using that.
Okay.
Like attachments and stuff like that, because I wasn't able to get that from other software. So I'm constantly in the process of developing different forms with using that software to collect different information that we need from candidates. So I'm hoping that with time it will work to our advantage. So I don't know.
Amazing.
Is there anything else that you want to know?
I mean, yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. What about any sort of issues? Have you had any sort of specific issues as a woman-led business at all? Like anything to do with that? Any sort of specific issues around that, or?
Maybe issues that is technology. That's where the challenge is. I can't say that women are not good in technology, but on my part, there's a lot that I have to learn, and I'm constantly learning every day. So that's one of the challenges.
Social media is a big one you got to learn as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really good tutorials though on the internet for like social media. Yeah, I'd always say LinkedIn is a good one to use. So it's quite an underutilized platform, that is. Yeah, no, great. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Next time I'll be more prepared.
No, it's just fine. It's honestly, any questions at all?
I think I'll have to review the videos later because I had another training in the morning. That's why I haven't been so organized. It kind of clashed with everything else. for the day.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that.
and thanks for your time.
Anytime. Okay, we'll move on to our next speaker. We've got Roger Ambrose.
I don't think Roger is here yet.
Okay, no worries.
So, and I'm next on the list, so perhaps I should do my
You're next.
presentation.
Go for it, Gary.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to put a short presentation on screen shortly. It's been long overdue, this really. I've now developed a full presentation, which will probably roll out in the next few months, specifically geared to women-led businesses. One of the things, I did some background research about funding for women-led businesses and social enterprises, and they did a big study. A bank did a big study on this in 2018, and they found that women-led businesses in the UK, if they were capitalised like they are in the United States, would add £250 billion to the gross value added of the UK economy. If you think about that, if we had that money now, that would pay all our increased fuel bills for the next 5 years, if you and more probably. That is a significant factor here. I was quite shocked by, because I knew they were undercapitalised, but that is very significant value, and I'm not sure who comes off worse. That is it, the banking industry, or generally the powers that be, or whatever. I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions. But think about all that money that's been lost for the British economy, and surely, especially in times like these, it's something that should be addressed. The other thing I'd like to say as well is that about 60% of CNT's clients are women-led businesses, so we are very sensitive to the needs of those businesses, and I hope we've learnt as we've got more experience of working with them. Move on now. Here are all our contact details. These are in the social, these are in the chat, sorry. And we will be sending out a summary of these slides. I'm not going to run through all of them, I don't think, because we're going to run over time anyway today. So I'll look at a few. I also wanted to show you on screen, this is a picture of my colleague, I hope you can see that there, my colleague Caroline Skelly, who often shuns the limelight. So we've started putting some images on social media recently, and they are the ones that are viewed most. So here is another. These are some of the services we provide for women-led businesses: coaching, partnership development, fundraising, and bid and application writing, business startup and development. And we are running a program in partnership with Bexley Council at the moment for Bexley-led businesses, which I'm going to explain briefly about shortly. But for those of you who aren't from Bexley, we're also going to look at some other funders as well. So just hold on, and we will be sending a copy of this presentation out. That's again a recent photograph at an event here in the engine house where we're based in Erith. CMT have been around since 2003 in one form or another, and we do business support and fundraising work. We write applications, support applications, write partnership applications, do funding research, and we've raised over £30 million for the clients that we've got. Probably more than that, because some of it's contract funding, and people don't always have to tell us when they get additional contracts, but usually our work has been part of it one way or another. This is the Bexley Council support programme. We're providing a number of elements, including business support, business reviews, webinars, of which this is one of them, additional support pathways to other partners. And here are some of them. You've met some of them already today: Federation of Small Businesses, Southeast Enterprise, who run a very good e-business program. I won't run through all of them, but the Bexley Library Services, where you can get significant business support software access, including Mintel, which is kind of gold standard business software that you can do research, identify other suppliers or partners, or research other markets. And then some localized support as well. And you can access all of that through this program. I put our details in the chat earlier, and the link to what you've got to do, if you're a Bexley-based business, you have to register directly with the council for this. That's the only thing they insist on, and the link is there, or contact us directly and we will send it to you. And once you've done that, if you tell us you've registered, we can start to work with you and provide some support. This is what you get from us. You get a 2-hour business review. Sometimes it's longer than that, sometimes it's shorter than that on average. And then you get additional support. This has been a program that's been shaped by the council in terms of templates for business plans, digital marketing strategies, getting your business online, business continuity planning, developing an online store strategy, and a range of other areas that where businesses have had specific issues. We've been pleased to try and help with them. Then we've got a range of webinars. This is one of them, and they're all on our YouTube channel, and there's other resources as well. And of course, you've got the pathways to other partners, as we've seen on the previous slide. So just moving on from this, here are some funding sources and sites that are accessible by any business, not just Bexley-based businesses. Ones I can recommend, including Funding Central, My Funding Central, which is a very good resource. It's got about 4,000 funding sources at any one time. There are some terms and conditions on that. There's a paywall on it, but for some organizations it's free. You need to check that out. Another good one is the Entrepreneurial Handbook, which is a very good general guide, of course, to entrepreneurship, but also it has 60 pages of grant funding in it. And that's throughout the UK, and that's a very useful thing to look at. And then there's 3 other sites there that I would recommend as well. Of course, there's other sources of support. We've seen some of them today, not least of which is Canmei and her colleagues at the University of Greenwich. Some regional ones and national ones include the Government Grants Hub, which is good, and the London Business Hub, which I would also recommend to you wherever you are in London. But we'll move on now. Again, some other support there. Another one that is very good is the British Library, particularly if you're looking at things like intellectual property. I do some work with the British Library myself on and off, so I can definitely recommend that. But let's have a look at some funding sources. I think Canmei alluded to some of this earlier, because I think this is one of the programs that you may work on. Innovate UK's funding programs, and they have a number of programs, including some for women and women-led businesses. Here is another one called Angel Academe. This is an investor network or an angel network for women. It's run by women, and they focus on accessing funding for tech investments in certain areas like fintech, financial tech, digital media, cybersecurity, education tech, business to business, and business to community, which is all the rage at the moment, or at least was until the pandemic. I think all that is going to come back again. There's lots of strings attached to this. So you need to get some independent advice. We do some consulting in this area, but there are other organizations that you may need to involve yourself with if you're looking at that form of investment. Here is another one. This is more for startups and other recently developing businesses. An organization called the Fredericks Foundation. This is a registered charity and it's been around for about 50 years. It is a significant provider of loans to women. It did have a women's loan fund at one time. If you look at its website, there's a lot of case studies of women-led businesses in its pages. To qualify for this, but remember, this is a loan, it's not grant funding. A loan is repayable, a grant isn't, with a viable business plan that's been turned down by a conventional lender. So in other words, a bank's got to turn you down. Probably not too hard at the moment. They offer loans of up to £15,000 for startups and follow-up loans of up to £35,000 for growth support. You need to, obviously, with all loans, you need to check out the rates of interest and whether they're right for you. That's very important. We're not endorsing anything here at CNT. We're just giving you information that we've researched. Here's another interesting funding source. This is an international funding source called the Global Fund for Women. Very well-funded organization. And it operates, it's US based, but it operates outside the US. You need to check it for terms and conditions. It does work in Europe, but they do change that a lot, but they also work in other parts of the world like Africa and parts of Asia and South America and various other parts of the world as well. But your organization has to be based outside the US, dedicated to improving women's equality and or human rights, and governed by a group of women, girls, or trans people. So they offer a lot of very good cash grants and other support. Another area which I'm not going to talk too much about today is crowdfunding. We put many of our funding webinars on our YouTube channel, so please refer to that. The link is in the chat, and also many of our presentations are there as well, where I talk in more detail about crowdfunding, but that's an option for some. This is one of the Britain's biggest platforms, crowdfunder.co.uk, and you put a project online, you make a video about it, and they will charge you 5% of what you raise, plus transaction fees. You don't have to pay money up front, and they can also potentially access, depending on what sector you're in, match funding from other sources, so they can make in some cases double the money that you raise. They run a project on that with the Greater London Authority during the pandemic. This is more recent ones, just to show you. I'm trying to put in a spread of funders here. Funding to support women's reproductive well-being in the workplace. This is a very interesting one. This is for social enterprises and others, but there's grants between 200,000 and 600,000 for various organisations. This is from the Department of Health and Wellbeing Fund for the workplace. Again, you'll get this presentation later, and the links are there for you to look at, because there is a lot of detail on that. I haven't got through all of it myself yet, but it's a very interesting program. Here's another one, the British Airways Better World Community Fund, and helps organisations of supporting social mobility, driving opportunity for education and employability in disadvantaged communities, and also supporting women and individuals from ethnic minorities, and other opportunities for girls in science, technology, engineering and maths as well. So another interesting fund there from BA. Again, this is another one from the Wellbeing Foundation. This is a wellbeing program for people from Black, Asian and minority ethnic groups. and there's some significant grants there. I'll just move on a bit, I think. Yeah, we got to the end anyway, so I'll just go back to the last slide, which is the British Library. Again, if you want, they can provide you with a lot of support around intellectual property. They may have gone back to running live events, which were very, very good previously. And they also have a lot of online support. I have clients who use them for several years now, and you can get a lot of very good advice for free, because if you have to pay for it, intellectual property advice is and can be very expensive. So that again, our contact details are there. That's just a snapshot of what is out there. It will form part of a larger presentation, and I'm going back to the main screen. If anybody wants to ask me any questions about any of that, please fire away.
Sorry, Gary, what's the name of the foundation after BA?
So,
the Bearing Foundation. I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, the Bearing Foundation.
Could we see that slide again?
You're going to get it emailed to you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if it's still not clear, just email us and I'll send it through. But you will get all of those slides I've just gone through in an email after this presentation. Caroline's busy to my left, just setting it up on the screen right now. I can see her. As I say, that was a very quick tour, because we've had a whole number of other speakers today. But we are going to represent this as a much, it will be up to an hour presentation, because all the research is more or less done. There's a few details we have to check. So that will probably roll out from July onwards. If it's not July, it will certainly be September. So, but in the meantime, I will be sending this out. And there's no charge for any of this. And of course, if you're part of the Bexley Business Programme or join that, I can give you even more information about this as well. I can't see any other people wishing to ask questions. Jenny, Roger has arrived. I can see his JZTA moniker on the screen. So you're there, are you, Roger?
I am, Gary. Yes. Good afternoon. We're okay to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Roger. That's great. Yeah.
Hello there, ladies. Good afternoon to you. A very, very dry subject, tax and accounts. So I'm going to try and keep it as light as I can, and really just touch on one or two very, very basic points that you may wish to consider. I've no idea how long any of you have been trading, whether you are, how long, and in what form. Essentially, there are a couple of ways that you will trade, as you're probably aware. You can either trade as an individual, as yourselves, or you can trade as a partnership or through the medium of a limited company. And it's important to try and identify what works for you. There's various reasons why you may form a company. One may give you limited liability, one to get work. Some businesses or contractors only like to take on, accept work from limited companies. But there is a scope to operate initially, at least, as a sole trade, particularly if your profits in the early years are likely to be modest. I would probably encourage you, from a cost-effective point of view, to operate as an individual or as a partnership if there are two or more of you. And then you can always incorporate the business at a later point if you wish to. If any of you have formed companies already, you may wish to think about, well, shall we operate through the company or keep the company dormant, work as ourselves independently to begin with, and then merge with the company at a later point. But from a tax perspective, once you find yourself, making reasonable, I mean reasonable profits going forward, you can find that the tax rates of operating through the company are more attractive than personal taxes. Personal tax, we're at 20%. Once your profits go above 50,000, you could well be in at 40% plus national insurance costs, whereas a limited company pays tax at a flat 19% on its profits. So one or two things there just to consider. Of course, if you are a sole trader, you'll pay tax on your profits. You can't draw a salary as such. You can certainly take money out of the business, but those drawings will be added back when you identify what your profit is over the course of a 12-month accounting period. With a limited company, however, you can draw a salary and reclaim expenses that you pay on behalf of the company. And you can also, once you find yourself in that attractive position of achieving profits, you can begin to draw dividends, which is a very much a tax-effective way of drawing money out of the company. One thing I would always say to you is keep your receipts and bills and make sure you have a separate bank account for your business activities. So often I have clients, or dare I say new clients, I like to think, who come to me with shopping bags full of receipts and bills, personal expenditure mixed with business. It doesn't make life very easy for the accountant, and it certainly aggravates HMRC. And if you do get an inspection, you can expect them to be on your back for quite some while until you get your records right. So I would always recommend having a separate designated bank account, whether you're a sole trade or a limited company, and to think about maybe some software, QuickBooks, Xero, Sage, depending on the nature of your work. With profits, those of you who are fairly new in your first year of trading, you will make your accounts up to the end of a particular accounting period. It may be 12-month anniversary of when you began. It could be to coincide with the tax year, 5th of April. And your tax bill will arise 9 months after the end of the tax year. So if this is your first year, or you've just ended your first year of trading, your first tax bill will occur on the 31st of January 2023. That's slightly different for a limited company, where the company will pay its tax bill on its profits 9 months after the end of the year, the accounting period, whenever that is. So if your company accounts are drawn to the 31st of May, you would pay your tax 9 months after the end of the accounting year, which in that case would be the 28th of February. In terms of expenses, think broadly, always think broadly. Am I doing anything? Am I incurring costs that have anything to do with my business? Materials, equipment, travel, motoring costs, postage and stationery, books, insurances, telephone. Some of those costs may be exclusive to your business and you can claim them in full. Others, there may be an element of private compared to business use. But don't be frightened to keep the receipts and bills, show them to your accountant and allow them to judge what element you can claim. Because obviously the more you can claim legitimately, the lower your profits will be on what you on ultimately what you pay tax. If you are a sole trader and you haven't yet registered with HMRC, do go online and register. Newly self-employed. It's important you do that fairly quickly, within 3 months of starting. That way you'll be registered for self-assessment and the revenue will issue you with a tax return to complete at the end of the tax year. Don't leave it too long before you register. Limited company, if you have companies, I presume that they are registered formally at Companies House, and Companies House will alert HMRC, who will in turn contact you at the registered address regarding tax matters. Now, that is very much a speedy appraisal of tax and accounting. I'm going to leave it there for now. If any of you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask. Otherwise, route them through Gary and he'll pass them on to me in due course.
Has anybody got any questions for Roger?
Good. Excellent.
Good.
Excellent.
So everybody's understood him, hopefully. So like he said, Roger is a qualified and practicing accountant, and he works with many startups and existing businesses, so he's very experienced. Again, he's based here at the Engine House in Bexley, but if anybody wants Roger's contact details, please contact us, or if you can put them in the chat, Roger.
Yeah.
That would help. We've run slightly over time today. I thought we might, and Jenny's had to leave, so I'd like to thank her because she's got another appointment. She has a lot of personal appointments in her business, but I'd like to thank her for hosting this today. a number of the other people are still here. Jackie's still here, Canmei's still here. So if anybody's got any other questions for them, then we can take them. Now, Jackie, you've got your hand up. You're mute, Jackie. That's it.
Hey, sorry. Networking, I believe, is still tax deductible. Is that right?
That's a good question. I think we'll have to. Roger seems to have, yeah, he seems to have dropped out. Actually, maybe it looks like he's had some connectivity problems. As far as I'm aware, yes. I think the answer to that is yes.
I think the important thing, if it's still the case, is that you actually put it down as networking and not a lunch or a tea or whatever.
Or entertainment, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, and then there's expenses of going there. It's usually not in your workplace or whatever. So there are other things that you can claim about that.
I just thought it might have been important, particularly for people who are just starting out, who may not know that. That was all. I shall mute myself now.
I didn't realise that either, actually, Jackie. So
yeah,
I guess I should. Okay, have we got any other questions from people out there? I can't see any right now. I would just like to end by thanking you all for joining us here today, and I would like to thank all of the speakers, Jackie, Jenny, Canmei, Thembi, and Rachel, and Roger too. This has been part of the presentation of webinar series for Bexley Council. But here at C&T, we do provide other services as well for those of you who aren't part of that programme. The programme is still open for those of you in Bexley to register with. It's going to be running until September, so you can still join it. But if you want to know about our other services, please get in touch or look at our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. Obviously, subscription is free on YouTube, and we've got 29 videos on it at the moment, and we're still trying to build it up, ranging from information about funding to getting your business online and various other presentational aspects that we've had from people in the last 2 years. So as I explained earlier, this presentation will be edited and it will go on our YouTube channel, and then it will probably go on LinkedIn as well. So if anybody has any concerns about that, please contact us and we will deal with that as appropriate. So I wanted to say that again, because we do take your security and safety online. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all for coming here today, and I look forward to seeing you all again. We are going to be running a live event for the programme as well. I've just got to mention that, I think, on the 14th of July. An email has gone out about that, and there will be speakers from the local authority and Rachel from FSB, but we will extend an invitation out to everybody who has joined us today. If you can make it, you'll be more than welcome. If you'll all be on our mailing list now, so there is an email going out about this tomorrow, I believe. It is a free event, and we'll have a number of speakers and businesses at that event. So nice to see you all today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. And thanks for joining us. It's really appreciated. Thank you.